Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse 258 of Surah Al-Baqarah, He talks about the story of Ibrahim. He says, أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِي حَاجَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ فِي رَبِّهِ. Have you not reflected on the person who disputed about his Lord with Ibrahim? So there was a king, and many of you probably have heard the story. There was a king in Babylon that started arguing with Ibrahim about his Lord. أَنْ آتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْمُلْكِ. And then Allah gives the reason why, the underlying reason why he was disputing, or why he was arguing. It's on account of, or because Allah had given him kingdom. Allah had given him power. Allah had given him authority, because he was a very powerful king. This is King Nimrud, as the history books tell us. إِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّيَ الَّذِي يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ. When Ibrahim said, my Lord is the one who gives life and causes death. قَالَ أَنَا أُحْيِي وَأُمِيتُ. So he responded and said, well, I give life and I can cause death as well. So, the scholars explain in this, historical records that say, what happened? We don't know exactly the story. The Quran doesn't give us all the details, but the historical accounts say that there were this king had a lot of people in prison. So he called one of them and he said, you know what? I'm pardoning you. You're free to go. And the other one, he called him out of prison, out of the dungeon. He said, everyone, guards, kill him. And he killed the other person. He says, see, I can give life and I can cause death. And it's interesting because if you look at today, even when they're in a place where there's the highest level of checks and balances, supposedly, like in the United States, the presidents have presidential pardon. You have how many rulers around the world? This is what they do. They have people sitting in their dungeons and people sitting on trial, and you have, even when it comes to FBI and it comes to CIA and it comes to whistleblowers and stuff, they're supposed to be protected, making decisions and decrees left and right. This person, you're going to go to jail. This person, you're going to go to Guantanamo. This person, you're going to go here. People do the same thing because Allah has given them power and they think they're special, they think they're above. So this king was similar to that. And he's sitting there and he's arguing with Prophet Ibrahim and he's saying, wow, nothing special about that. I can do the same thing, right? And then he says, قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأتي بها من المغرب. So Ibrahim responded and he says, well, Allah is the one who brings the sun from the east. Why don't you bring it and cause it to rise from the west? فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. He had nothing to say. He was stuck and he had no response. And the thing is, the key is not about this king. He's going to stay in his ways. It's not like all of a sudden, because he says, you know what, he got stuck. He didn't all of a sudden change his ways and become a pious servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and change, the whole story changes. No. But the king he's such a powerful person. All the people who are around him, they're watching, this guy got stuck. All of his cons and all of the things that he was doing, it's all going to be coming to an end. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. Allah does not guide the misbelieving people. There are three main lessons to learn here. Lesson number one is that one of the root causes of this type of rejection of the truth is arrogance. When Allah gives you money, and Allah gives you wealth, and Allah gives you power, and Allah gives you allies, and all of these things, those people become so arrogant that they cannot see the truth. And that's why it's very important for us to humble ourselves. Always remind ourselves that whatever we have, whatever we have, Allah has given this to us. This is the best way to humble yourself. It's not you, you're not special. Some country is powerful and they think they have a powerful army and they have a nuclear weapon and all that. They're not powerful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can eliminate them in the blink of an eye. The second thing that we have to remember here is that Allah is teaching us that the prophets used to argue and debate with people in a way to appeal to their mind so that they understand. We should not simply say, you know what, well, you should be Muslim because I'm telling you to, or you should believe in Islam because of this thing. There's always this convincing factor because Allah has given a mind and an aql, intellect to everybody. So we should be appealing to the intellect when we teach our own children, as well as when we are discussing with people, trying to explain to them what the message of Islam is, trying to explain to people why the killing of innocent children and civilians and the people of Palestine and all of this stuff. When you're talking to people, appeal to their minds, as in addition to their emotions, but also to their minds. And the third is a very important point that we all need to remind ourselves. I need to remind myself always, is that when you're arguing with someone and the person is being silly, the person is being foolish. Don't just keep on hammering the same point again. No, Allah is the one who causes life. You don't understand what you're talking about. That's not what I meant to say. I didn't mean that. Ibrahim just redirected. And he said, okay, let's have a completely different argument. And he changed the argument. So sometimes we have to learn that, you know what, if someone is sitting there, doesn't understand what you're saying, is being foolish, change the argument to something different. And sometimes I remember once somebody sent me one of these memes recently. Meme is not just a letter in Arabic, by the way. It's one of those little, pictures with something on it. Somebody said, you know what? Sometimes, I forgot the exact wording, but it's just basically, sometimes you need to learn when to stop arguing with people and just let them be wrong. And there's so much wisdom in that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions something similar in the Quran. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the wisdom and the courage of Prophet Ibrahim in our lives. Ameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum. Fantastic. Alhamdulillah.